Welcome, everybody, to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel. It's our live show today. I'm Ross Benjamin, your host. And like every Friday, we go live at 3 p.m. Eastern, and I'm joined by Mr. Jesse Schule and Sean Higgs, all three of us of gamblersworld.net. Glad you could join us today. Now, feel free to chime in with all your questions and comments. We'll get to as many as we possibly can. And time permitting, we'll get to all of you, I hope. So, as I like to say, Mr. Schule, who's Colonel Klink's nephew, is back from Malaysia, and he's back in Thailand. I'm glad for that because he was having some internet issues that was driving him crazy, even because Jesse is a true pro and he wants to make everything right. But Jesse, I'm glad you're back.
Maybe we could blame the last week's results on the internet issues, Ross. we got to blame it on somebody, and I don't feel like blaming myself. But I'm back home. I'm ready to get focused, buckle down, and the next bull run is about to start. Obviously, I look good. I feel good. I stayed in this place behind me last night, or for the last week, mind you, and it was nice. But I'm ready to get back home and back to work.
There you go, buddy. It's nice to get away once in a while and step away and rejuvenate yourself. You know, when you're on vacation like that in the middle of football season and basketball season, it's tough because you still have to, you got subscribers and you got to find time away from the family to really focus. So now that you're back home, I could assure you folks, Jesse's going to go on a terrific roll. And speaking of terrific roles, Mr. Higgs is doing awfully well these days. And I told you it was coming. And once again, if you're not familiar with Sean Higgs, he's a cadet from the University of Army, as you can see with his uniform today. It's not gray, though. It's blue. But how are you, Mr. Sean Higgs?
Oh, pretty good. What am I gonna, I'm home. I wasn't in a fun B&B. I'm just in my little dungeon room here with my llama and paperwork. That's about it.
Maybe that's why the W's are piling up for you.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Whatever it takes, right, Jesse? In any event, come out, folks. Let's get some comments and questions in here. You guys seem to chime in on the archives, and now's your opportunity to get us and get an immediate answer from us. Either all three of us or one of us will answer you, no doubt about it. So, but we're going to be talking NFL today, and Jesse will be looking at the game between the Browns and the Seahawks, and I will be looking at the game between the Saints and the Colts, and Sean will be looking at the game between the Bengals and the 49ers. So there you have it, folks, and we'll get to those shortly. But before we get to those, just a friendly reminder, Gamblers World is our sponsor. You can find all three of us at gamblersworld.net. It's there where all our picks are guaranteed, and that means all single game, multi-game daily packages, and also all subscription plans of 30 days or less. If you don't win, you don't make a profit. You will get your account credited back the exact amount of your purchase price. And we got a nice special going on for Halloween right now over at Gamblers World. Let me give you the specifics here. Let's get the homepage up, and you'll see a great little graphic that was put together by our man Seth, and it's called Spooktacular Savings. You get $13.13 off any 3-day package every day until midnight, October 31st. So you want to take advantage of that, folks, over at gamblersworld.net. And again, those 30-day packages, like our 3-day and 7-day, are all guaranteed. Again, if you don't win, you don't make a profit. Your account's going to be credited back the exact amount of money you spent on that purchase. All right, guys, let's get to the NFL. And Jesse, let's take a look at the Browns and Seahawks. It's already we've already learned that Deshaun Watson is ruled out of this game and went down early in last week's game at the Colts. Yet the Browns pulled off a 39-38 win. They were a little bit lucky because Indianapolis did turn the ball over 4 times, which really aided their cause. But right now, Seattle's a 4-point favorite. The total's 38. Do you want to address the side, the total, or something else, Jesse?
Oh boy, Ross, you gave me a cracking game with a total in the mid 30s and backup quarterbacks to boot. Yeah, no, this is one I might not be watching on Sunday, Ross. I'm going to focus on a player prop bet on the passing yards for Geno Smith. This looks like it's got an ugly game written all over it. The total's low. The total's low for a reason. Both these teams got some serious injury problems. Specifically, both teams banged up on the offensive line. Cleveland, they lost starting offensive lineman in their season opener for the rest of this for the season, and now they've got a couple starters banged up. Seattle's offensive line was one of the worst ranked O-lines in the league coming into the season, and they've got a couple starters that are listed as questionable, and several other offensive starters as well on both sides. I believe the running backs for both teams, starting running backs for both teams listed as questionable. And the quarterback play has been atrocious. PJ Walker, he's thrown for 370 yards, no touchdowns, 3 picks, 50% passing in the 2 games he's played. Not very inspiring. And Geno, he's been kind of hot and cold, but his last 4 games, 4 touchdowns, 4 picks. He's regressing back to the Geno Smith that we knew for so many years when he was floating around the league and playing for the Jets. Maybe not quite that bad, but he's certainly not coming in to this game on top form. And he's facing a Cleveland defense that ranks number 1 against the pass. They're only allowing opponents to average 149 passing yards per game. Geno Smith's passing yard total for this game, 224.5. I believe it's going to be an ugly, low-scoring game, and I like Geno to go under that number of 224.5.
So Jesse Schule likes a prop on Geno Smith to go under 224.5 yards passing. And there you have it, folks. He makes a good case. Look, Cleveland's coming off their worst defensive game of the season last week. Although they won that game 39-38, Sean, they gave up 456 yards in that contest to Indianapolis. How they were able to escape with a win is they forced 4 turnovers, and that certainly helped their cause. But you know, before that, they hadn't allowed over 300 yards all season long. So what's your take on this one, buddy?
Yeah, and I had the under in that game too, by the way. It's a little loser for me there. 21-8 of my totals. That was one of my losers on the season. This one I do have on the side. I do have a package up on this one. So I got two packages up for Sunday. So I do have a pick on this game. But I would I thought about using the under here, just based on everything said, how bad they looked and everything to generate that kind of offense and what you allowed and how good they had been coming into that game. Like that, who saw that one coming? That's an anomaly. So yeah, I could still possibly play on this under. I'd be looking at the under here. You know, again, sidewise, I already have something up for everybody if you want to go get that. But total, I like the under.
All right. So Sean has a lean toward the under 38 in this game. And, you know, Seattle barely gets by as a 9-point favorite last week against Arizona, winning by 1. So you have pretty similar scenarios here where 2 teams as favorites barely win the game, each by a point apiece. I did have Indianapolis last week, and I could tell you my heart was in my throat because they outgained them by like almost 200 yards, and they still lost the game because they couldn't secure the football. But in any event, a couple comments here. What's up, guys? Good luck tonight and this weekend. Well, thank you, sir, and the same to you as well. And you know what would make your weekend a good one is if you purchased a 3-day package from either Jesse, myself, or Sean. We'll put some money in your pocket. Pounded sports betting and sports cards. How we doing, guys? How you guys like Army minus 9.5 and over 50.5? You know what? Army, they're coming off back-to-back shutout losses, if I recall. And they're laying 9.5 in this game. UMass has been a lot more competitive this year than they've been in past years. Again, this is one of those scenarios in the over 50.5. I would have a hard time with that just based on you're talking about a team that's coming off back-to-back shutout losses. But again, this is one of those situations, guys, and correct me if I'm wrong. And if you have an opinion on this game, feel free to chime in. But there's better games on the board.
I don't know if just let's go. How laying double digits with service academies. I mean, tough, especially an Army one that's not even a good running team this year. It's not the same kind of option. Triple. I mean,
they have no identity right now.
You get shut out by LSU is fine. I can understand that. Your LSU's gonna shut you down. Troy game 19-0.
Yeah.
What? 16 points for Syracuse.
At home, decide, Sean.
You look at they put up 37 against San Antonio, who was playing bad at the time. The Delaware State. Otherwise, 16 Syracuse, 24 BC is a bad team. I want to say under here. As bad as UMass is, and UMass isn't. It just looks like too many points because Army's going to want to run the ball.
Yeah.
And UMass, they've had a week off. They got pummeled by Penn State a couple weeks ago, so they're off a bye week and they're facing a triple option team that's not a good running team this year. You faced them last year. It's not like it's new. You lost 44-7 last year. I'm going to say under. I'd go under before I lay a 10 here.
Yeah, I definitely would not take the over if I was even going to entertain playing this game, which I will not. But in any event, Jesse, you have any thoughts in terms of the Army and UMass matchup?
I mean, I concur that there's better games on the board. I will say that I should probably familiarize myself with this UMass team because, as I do understand it, they have improved greatly. They used to be the whipping boys of college football, but they're far more competitive than they were. But I'm not familiar enough to them to know how so, and wouldn't want to involve myself in a bet on or against them until I do a little bit more homework on them.
Guys, I just think in Sean, you made a good point. Army lacks the offensive identity they've had in years past. Their new offensive coordinator trying to transition into a little more of a passing game. It looked like it was working. Against UTSA, I was very impressed with their effort offensively in that game. But since then, they've regressed completely, and they look like they're totally confused as to what they want to do or what they want to hang their hat on offensively, Sean.
Well, I mean, last week, so they had a true freshman QB last week because their QB was hurt or wherever he's at. Yeah. So you ran with two freshman quarterbacks last week, which is, again, why I kind of would lean under in this one because all right, it's a program that runs the same kind of stuff, but if it's new and you're learning, well, hello, that's how you go for 17 rushing yards and the other guy, I think, minus 10 rushing yards. The two rookies, two freshmen, they rolled out last week. Again, that's LSU defense versus a UMass defense that gives up 45 a game. Listen, you want to lay 10? I'm not looking to lay that in. I mean,
if you're going to lay double digits with any service academy this year, I would entertain that with Air Force. Correct, exactly, because there's 7.
What about the quarterback injury for Air Force? You guys don't think they're going to miss a beat without that quarterback?
Here's the thing. I mean, he got hurt against Navy last week. I know he was hurt before then.
I think he was seriously hurt. Like he's going to miss quite a bit of time.
He got hurt against Navy. I'm asking.
No, he did. I don't think he played against Navy. I think he was out
against Navy. He played against.
Did he?
Navy. Yes, I'm almost positive. I'll have to look that up. But and to answer your question, Jess, they opened at 11 against Colorado State. They're up to 14. So I'll look that up as we speak. But you guys can answer this from Dan's rants and start with you, Jesse. Nasty, ugly college football week. You couldn't pay me to bet. I got like 2 leans. NFL week is a gem. Yeah, I said it on the show a couple days ago that I did not think that this was an attractive card whatsoever, and it was going to force me to take some heavy favorites, which I'm not fond of doing. Anyway, you guys' thoughts on this?
I mean, I think you got to put it into perspective, and perhaps we've become spoiled having a couple good weeks in a row with some great matchups. If you compare this week's action to something like week 0, and we were all thrilled when week 0 came around because we got some college football games to bet on. And now we've got, a full slate of college games. It doesn't look like the best slate, granted, but I think it's our job to make the best of that and, have a positive attitude about it and think about where we'd be if there wasn't any games. So I'll take it. As bad as it does look, Dan, I'm going to squeeze out 3 or 4 games and be happy to do so.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm not going to bet, Dan, but I would tell you that nothing jumped out at me. And usually early in the week, a couple games will jump out. Sean, your thoughts?
Yeah, like I've had a couple games right this week, right? New Mexico, Vatek. I only had like 5 games this week. Again, it's not a crazy week. And I always say, like, if you're looking at that when the lines come out, nothing should really change from Sunday to Friday. Like, you like the game on Sunday, you should like it on Wednesday. What's going to really change your mind? It's one of those days, one of those cards. You're like, I agree with Dan's spot here. Not really a huge one. I like a few. Earl Brothers with the Air Force guy. He did play that quarterback. He played.
Yeah, Larrier. He played last week.
He
6
did
out
play.
of 7.
And,
I saw the game he got hurt.
Yeah,
it was against. It was 2 games ago.
But like he says here, line it was 10 to 12 to 13 to 14 points. I think they're all right because Colorado State can't stop anybody offensively, but you got Army on deck, so it's kind of like one of those spots where I'd worry about them, Colorado State, because they're going to pass and try to get something late here. But then on the flip side, you have Air Force looking to go undefeated in Mountain West, could get to 8 Mountain West. I like Air Force. I thought about laying it, but they got Army on deck, and that's more of a bigger. Yeah. They're favored in every game. Air Force is a team.
They're 7-0. You know what I mean? And
even going forward, you look at their schedule. They're not going to be dogs to anybody.
Yeah,
they're not a bad program.
For
who they are.
I don't know if they're. Again, it's a conference game, and you got a chance to win a conference championship.
Yeah.
And that line move, if you look at the money splits on that, the volume of bets and the money heavily leans on not heavily, but over 60% on each. Going toward Colorado State yet. Yeah. That line has gone from 11 to 14. To me, that's an indicator that there's some sharp money going that way.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we got that out of the way, and yeah, Jesse, he did get hurt against Colorado State in the win against Colorado State, I believe it was. Didn't finish the game. The Wyoming game 2 weeks ago. And that injury, when it happened, in Jesse's defense, it looked serious. And yet he came back and in true military fashion, came back from an injury very quickly. So let's get this up here. Any tips from you guys for a peon like myself? Micro betting games, I usually bet $1 per unit. Tips for moving up eventually and making this a professional profession for myself, or at least a good side job. You're not going to do it at $1 a unit.
Yeah, for a profession, you better put 3 zeros on that if we're going to be betting. Again, here's the thing, Gio, and this isn't like unit shame, because betting dimes across the board, few people do that. They could come out and people say bet thousands of dollars. One, it's hard to do that anyway. And the best, are we going to win maybe 55% of the time? You have to be able to have outs. I don't mind betting totals, like stuff for long term to try to build a little value. I know some people don't like to do that, but it's slow. It's a slow grind. You're starting at $1. You have to have a bankroll to.
Unless he's referring to $100 and calling it $1.
It could be doing $100 a unit. I don't know.
And even
he says micro, so I'm assuming he's probably $1.
Yeah, and even then,
it takes time to build a bankroll. It takes 30 years to.
It takes time to make it a profession too.
Yes.
Okay. It's we didn't start right out of the gate by saying, okay, I went 7-1 the last 2 weeks, I'm going to be a professional. And I think there's too much of that these days, guys. I think the word professional gets tossed around very lightly, and it shouldn't be. And everybody and their brother right now thinks they're a professional handicapper because he had a good month, and then they start a website, and then they find out how tough it is to sell the clients, and then they don't get monitored in the right spots. And when they do get monitored, all of a sudden that 1 month record dissipates and you're a below 500 handicapper. So it's a long process, and it's not something that we just went head first into. I could speak for Sean and Jesse when I say that.
And here's the thing. You say you want to make a profession for yourself or a good side job. That's the way you should be treating it anyway.
Yeah.
You should be treating it that way. I mean, are you having fun or you want to make money?
Exactly.
There you go. I say that all. Gio, you've been in my chat. That's what I say. You want to have fun? Real have fun. Just don't be surprised when you lose.
I mean, when was the last time you had fun losing money, and getting nothing in return? You put money on a game, you lose. You don't enjoy the game because you lost.
Yeah.
It's not like going to the movies. You spent $15 and you saw a good movie. That's not the case. No. Jesse, any thoughts in that regard in terms of what?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, Ross. Not everybody is meant to be a professional handicapper. Yeah. And I think 99% or more of the people that ask, and we get to ask this question all the time. I'm sure you guys do as well. I get this all the time. How do I become a professional handicapper? I want to do this. And I would say 99% of them would not be willing to do what I do in a day to be a professional handicapper. It is not all beach resorts like what you see behind me. There's a lot of 18, 20-hour day. I mean, I'm on one right now. It's 3 a.m. where I'm at. I've been through 3 airports and different countries and different time zones, and I'm here with you guys. And it takes that kind of focus 7 days a week, 364 days a year. Maybe you get to take 1 day off during the baseball all-star break or something, but essentially you work every day. Christmas Day, there's football. New Year's Eve, there's football. New Year's Day, there's football. So you think that this looks like so glamorous and easy money. It's a lot of hard work that goes into this, and you have to have experience, dedication. You have to have a knack for doing it. Not everybody's going to have that. And most people are going to walk away with their tail between their legs and say, what made me think I could ever do this?
People think like you start a channel, like I'm going to do this, and then nobody watches your video, and there's no sales on your site or whatever, and you're just like, bro, welcome to the world. This is no different than having any kind of other job.
Well, look at Jesse is a good example of that. He started his own channel, and he's been doing his videos, and it's been a slow grind where he's starting to build up an audience now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when he wasn't getting a lot of views, he was still grinding it out every day. That's how you build. Okay.
It's just a TikTok, Twitter, microwave world. If you're not getting stuff in 30 seconds, it's like, oh, look at this. All right. Okie doke.
Not only that, I think all of us started when we were teenagers, right? We were doing this kind of stuff, betting on games. We were exposed to this growing up. And I don't know too many professional handicappers that are actually good at what they do that started in their late 20s, early 30s, or 40s.
Well, I'll tell you what I did in my 20s and 30s, early 30s anyway, which is quite a while ago. As Sean would always point out to me, but in any event, I was an agent for one of the bigger bookmakers here in Rochester at the time, and the statute of limitations is now passed, so I could talk about this. But I mean, you learn from the other side of the table. And then I used to see all these clowns on TV yelling and screaming like animals. And there was no checks and balances. I said, how about if I try something different with my knowledge? How about I become part of the sports betting industry and do things with honesty and integrity? Which you guys know, because you operate the same way. That the precedent that was set before us when we first started out is the biggest, toughest thing to overcome. Because so many people got screwed by guys, not because they lost, because of the volume of money they were promised they were going to make, and the volume of money they paid certain guys who were nothing more than glorified salespeople that use the sports betting industry as a vehicle to scam people out of money. And nowadays, shame on you if you allow that to happen, because you should be doing a search on anybody you deal with, guys. I mean, there's no excuse for that. And if if you don't see anything on a Google search on Sean Higgs, Jesse Schule, or Ross Benjamin, which you will, and plenty of it, and then you can't look up how Sean, Jess, and Ross is doing on certain sites or on several sites and document and see their documented records. And like Jesse likes to say, on occasion, you'll be off a game or two because you might have got 14 and a half on one site. You might have got 14 on another and it landed on 14. But for the most part, we're, in the neighborhood on each site that we're on. So, I mean, those are the kinds of things. And let me tell you another thing. If you're a young person and you're just got married, or you're planning on getting married and you want to get into this business, you better have a special kind of woman, a woman that understands the passion that you have for the business and the hard work it takes and the lean times that you have to fight through financially when you first start out. And her being able to make that sacrifice to help out monetarily in the early stages of your career so you could pursue your dreams. And if you don't have that, and you don't have a woman that understands that the time and effort it takes to put into this industry to be successful, your marriage is not going to last. Because I could tell you, and Sean will tell you, and Jesse will tell you. Jesse just came back from a little vacation with his family, but he still had to take time to get picks in for his subscribers. And bottom line is, it puts a lot of stress on the handicapper itself to find balance between family and business. And it took me years to accomplish that. It took me a relationship that I lost because of it. Okay. So again, any thoughts on the balance and difficulties in balance?
Well, Ross, when you say a good woman, I certainly am fortunate to have that. I not only a good woman, but great kids. And one of them's an adult son, and we're a team. Everybody works together to the point where when I'm really busy, when I'm really grinding, I don't make my own breakfast. I don't make my own coffee. I have coffee brought to my desk while I'm working. Everybody's helping me out too, because I'm the sole breadwinner of the family, and the family works as a team. Everything goes all in line to what's best for the family, and what's best for the family is me concentrating on my work and everybody helping me out to do as much with the time I have as I possibly can. So, and everybody's on board. There's no fights. There's no arguments about it. And that's what allows us to go on nice vacations to places like what you see behind me on a regular basis. So everybody's happy and everybody works together, and it's got to be that way.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to. I mean, I've been very fortunate. I've been with the same woman for the last 16 years. Does she get frustrated at times? Absolutely. Does she feel like I'm not paying attention to her at times? Absolutely. But by the same token, it doesn't turn into an argument. It'll be a subtle suggestion. So you have to have not a very supportive woman behind you. Sean, I think I could guess what you're going to say in this regard, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'll let you say what you have to say.
Yeah, my wife's wonderful. We just had a 19-year anniversary last Sunday. I mean, it's been with me for 23 years.
Yeah.
So she knows. I mean, come on. I please, the stories. I mean,
and at this stage of our career, we're making enough money where we're providing security for our families, and that goes a long way. It's when I say, I'm not trying to discourage you if this is exactly what you want to do. But again, I'm warning you that you're not going to come right out of the chute and make a ton of money.
How many times do you get like messages on Twitter or whatever, like, oh man, I want to get on the site, how do I do it? Like, I'm on a nice heater the last couple weeks, huh? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I turned down guys for this site because I was very particular on who I brought on, and I was fortunate enough to have the backing of Jim Quinn, our owner, over at Gamblers World and the Winner's Circle, to make these choices. And I still turned down some pretty good people, for not so much that they were a bad handicapper, but I was looking for the combination of good writers, people who did this religiously that I can count on, can get in front of a camera and articulate themselves well. And that's the thing. Anybody can make a pick, okay? Anybody. But can they write about it in really in their analysis and convince you this is the reason why? And if they lost, you could read their analysis and say, you know what? I lost. I'm not happy about it, but this guy really put the time and effort into studying this game, and things just didn't pan out. Those types of things, and getting up in front of a camera. I mean, these guys do 2 and 3 minute videos, and people get mad at us because they have to wait too long to get a free pick. I'm sorry. We sell picks for a living. You're mad because we're not giving you a free pick too quick or a free pick lost? Sorry, folks. There's a lot of 2-3 minute videos out there that you could and not learn a thing. Okay, not learn a thing. So and let alone be entertained, because I think we do a good job of not only educating the audience but also entertaining the audience as well. All right, Dan. My advice is if you have to take emotion out of it, you can't bet based off emotion and who you like, and also you can. Nobody takes 1K and says I want to have $100,000 by the end of the year. Yeah, you're exactly right, Dan. And
but they turn $5 parlays into that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, and I find, and I appreciate anybody who spends money with me and puts their trust and faith in me. I do my best to put money in your pocket, but sometimes they catch you at the wrong time. Having said that, I don't know what you guys' experience is, but some of the guys that are the biggest pains in my neck are the guys that just bet $50 and $100 a game and think they're going to be able to quit their job in 12 months. It's not realistic. Come on. I mean, the people who do that are betting thousands. The people who do that, you're looking at, okay? Not necessarily betting thousands per game. And we're not going to tell you something that's fictional. Do we bet thousands on a game? At times, I have in my career. There's no two ways about it. But the bottom line is that you got to be able to grind it out. Okay, like Sean has always told you, 55% will make you a lot of money in this industry if you play your cards right. All right, I don't know if this is Nick or Tim, but he took Air Force -12 early in the week.
Yep.
Very sharp move by you, young man. And if you were here, I would put a star on your forehead. Anyway, another one from Dan. Amazing point made by Ross, a sports betting salesman on TikTok, are alarming.
Red Lambos.
No, and they are. It's, we can name some guys off right now, but I'm not going to waste my time because actually I'm giving them more a plug than they deserve right now.
Single Life
ain't bad either. Well, yeah,
it's not bad for the sports betting guy. Yeah, it's not too bad.
I mean, if that's what your plan is, or even better, if you meet a nice girl, Tim or Nick, I'm not sure which one I'm speaking to, and you're established after a few years, you could provide instant security, and a lot of women wouldn't have problems with that. Just make sure you have this discussion early on. The time and effort it takes to do this.
That's it.
All right, Sean, I'm going to let you get this one.
Parlays always
around with straight betting.
Yeah.
Even 20, 30 years ago. Absolutely. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Sean.
they were. No, I was going to say with the Single Life kind of stuff, I find with the younger crew, it's probably tougher for them to well, I mean, Earls are obviously guys, so tougher for them to find a girl, whatever, because it's everything now is such into like a live betting type of model. And, so, and that's not me now. That wasn't something I ever did. So it's easy for me to like bet it, forget it. Like I'm not watching, like if you're going to sit there and be in game and all the time, good luck. Yeah. I think, I don't know. That's another reason I don't do that. And it's, again, my kids were little. On a Saturday, I was going pumpkin picking or apples or looking at freaking leaves or some nonsense. I wasn't watching games on a college football Saturday, and I wasn't looking to. I'm not doing that now. I'm not looking to live bet games. Let's go.
I watch a lot of football. I watch a lot of football more so now than ever. More because I want to know what I'm talking about when I do 6 shows a week, or I'm a guest on another show. And also, I'm older, and my daughter is 38. I got a granddaughter, so it's not like I have kids to entertain. And my wife still works, so it's a different scenario when you get older, But in terms of parlays, Jesse, I think we all started by betting parlays at some point early in our life and realize sooner rather than later that this isn't the route to success. But I'll let you chime in on this.
I don't think it takes very long to figure out that parlays aren't the way to go. As soon as you burn through your bankroll a couple times, for me as a teenager, I was taught by older, wiser gentlemen that you're messing up by betting those parlays, and I got that out of my system quite early.
I had those stupid sheets like in high school. I was working. I was like a busboy at the Italian place, and I get those sheets every Saturday morning. I'm like, $20? Yeah, why not? Five games, $20. I could win a little bit. Okay, yeah.
My dad used to bring those home, Sean, and I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again.
They were fabulous. I wish I saved some of those.
Yeah, I was watching the games with him from 6 years old on, and I would see all the emotion he put into the games, and he would be cheering for both teams to score, and I couldn't understand that till he explained it to me, and I was old enough to comprehend exactly what the whole scenario was he loved to bet overs on games that aren't TV. Another failure, and nothing against my dad, but hey, you know what I'm trying to say, guys. But he used to get these parlay cards and fill them out. We used to call them sheets here, and he let me fill out my first one. He put $1 on it, 3-teamer. And I won. It paid $5, and that's the biggest. In my early stages, that was the biggest downfall I could possibly have. Because number one, I thought it was easy, and number two, I liked the concept of putting up $1 and getting $5 back.
Yes.
So I think all of us at an early age, when we didn't have money, we're all that wanted a sports bet. More or less, we're looking to make that big score. And then if you made that big score on a parlay, then you might dabble into some straight bets. But
and Roth, that goes right into today's kids, because all of a sudden you go on TikTok or Instagram or Twitter, and all of a sudden you see somebody put in like, $15 to win 24,000, and just ridiculous. And so they're like, oh, look at this. This is how easy is this? I could just bet these every single day, and I'm going to
18-team parlays that it's hinging on one game, or somebody had a bad beat on the 18th leg. Even when they hit, guys. Remember this: for every one guy that hits, there's millions of other similar parlays that didn't. Okay. I go back to my days when working for the bookie, the local bookie, and I learned awfully quick. The biggest losers were the guys that played on parlays. You still had losers, the guys who played on straight bets because they're playing prohibitive favorites. They're playing the obvious selection. But the biggest losers by far were the guys who called in every week, betting 4 and 5, 2-team or 3-team $20 parlays. You're just never going to win like that, Anyway, all right, Sean, let's talk about your game, which is the Cincinnati Bengals at the San Francisco 49ers. This game takes on a whole different complexion now that we find out that Brock Purdy suffered a concussion in their previous game. The 49ers now sit at 4 as a favorite at home, and the total 43.5. So again, a Cincinnati Bengals team that look like they're starting to come on, and they're teasing us a little bit. They've underachieved so far. 49ers who looked lights out. Now they're without their starting quarterback, and they've lost 2 in a row. So I'll let you take it away, my friend.
Well, I got to say, I think I said this to you guys at the beginning of the season. I took a Sam Darnold to win comeback player of the year for who knows? Maybe he turns it on here. I wish I would have had the other starts with him. Sidewise here, listen, at 5.5, 6, I'm looking at Cincy off a bye week. Now the line's down, a little trickier. Let's go to the total. I got a backup quarterback on a short week. I got a rested defense in Cincinnati, an offense that hasn't really looked that well. Under. I mean, I'm simple. There's nothing really to deep dive into because I got a guy who hasn't quarterbacked this year versus a team off a bye week, and they're on a short week. They got some other banged up players on their team. CMC doesn't look like he's banged up. Apparently, he's got some kind of stomach problem. Dabo was hurt. So, you know what? It's under 43. It was 46, 43 makes sense. I'd still go. I don't think this game first to 20 wins, I think, with these two teams. Yeah. Burrow has had one good game, and that was against Arizona, who looks terrible. So
They beat Seattle.
There's no run game for them. They can't get anything going there. They barely held on against Seattle because Seattle made some bonehead decisions. So I'll go under and be happy.
Yeah, you look at their total yards, Jesse, to Sean's point, and starting with the opening game against Cleveland, 142, 282, 309, 211, and then they go for 380 against Arizona, as Sean pointed out. And then last week, or 2 weeks ago, before the bye, they beat Seattle 17-13, but they only amassed 224 yards of offense. Actually, they were outgained in that game. Seattle, they had 381 yards to their 284, yet they came away with the win. Your take on this game, Jesse?
Well, since we got Dan in the chat, Dan astutely pointed out that Baylor looked like a different team with Blake Shapen back for the Baylor Bears in the Big 12 in college football. And I agreed with Dan and pointed out there's a few other teams who were without their quarterback early in the season, or their quarterback was banged up and missed time. And now that those quarterbacks are back and healthy, these teams cannot be viewed through a lens that says, well, this is what they are this season, this is what they average. You got to take all that and throw that out. Now, we don't know if Cincy's quite there yet, but I think there is the possibility for, especially coming off of a bye, that Burrow says his calf is 100% right now. Since he's coming off back-to-back wins, I'd be extremely tempted to take the points here with a Cincy team that really, I think, should improve from where they looked at the beginning of the season. And I have faith that Burrow's still one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And if his calf truly is 100%, they could be a force to be reckoned with later on in the season.
Yeah, if we know that Purdy's out, the books certainly do. And bettors think they're getting over on the books here because they know Purdy's out. And there's a ton of money that has gone on Cincinnati thus far at the spot that I always look at. 75% of the bets, individual bets so far on Cincinnati plus the points, which is accounted for 80% of the betting pool money-wise. So I just can't put. Hey, Jesse, you make a good point. This is a game to me that you stay away from because there's too much unknown.
I've seen some buyback here on the Niners now because this is up to it was down to 3.5, now it's up to 4.5 again. So
yeah, and the other thing too is the total. I mean, it's come down to 43.5 from its opening number, if I'm not mistaken. But how much is that attributed to? How much is that attributed to the situation with Purdy? I mean, it's not like you have two starting quarterbacks, two healthy teams, and the total went from 46.5 to 43.5. Now you can make some discernible suggestions as to what is that sharp money or is that public money kind of thing. But this, to me, was a move they made because of the availability of Purdy, or lack thereof, and that's where I see it. But in any stretch, Sean, you like the under 43.5, correct?
Yes.
All right, so Sean Higgs likes Cincinnati and San Francisco under 43.5. Dan says I'll lean under. This is a 20-17 game. I think we'd all wouldn't give you an argument on that. Same game alternative lines. Dan, I don't get into that alternative baloney. That's it's so parlays are for suckers. Got it. What about teasers? Again, you'll get people who'll tell you they do well on teasers. I'm going to tell you, when I did a study on this about 4 years ago, and I haven't really got back into it because teasers were becoming very popular around that time frame. And I went back 5 years, and 70% of the time when you won a two-team parlay or won a two-team teaser, you would have hit the parlay anyway. So they're not as big as sucker play. Your odds are a little better, but not by much, not by as much as you think. Okay, so again, 10 times that you've won a teaser, 7 of those 10 times you would have won on a two-team parlay anyway. All right, so and that two-team parlays are a sucker play. So at the end of the day, they're not as, how could I say? They're a little less of a sucker play. How's that for an analogy?
I feel like a 5-team pleaser getting like 10 points for every team. There you go.
Yeah. Well, and then you get paid even money, or something stupid. So that's the thing. Dan, Bengals teased the full 10. Find any other handful of beautiful opportunities this Sunday. Yeah, again, Dan, all due respect.
They all look
because I
good.
do respect your opinions.
They all look good.
But this isn't one time I agree with you. You know, I don't care if it's the Bengals, the Giants, whoever. Okay. You know, it's not that easy. And again, I just made my point on you would hit a 2-team parlay, or, you know, if you hit a 2-team teaser anyway. All right. So any thoughts, Jesse, in that regard?
Yeah, I actually think that it's sharper to play correlating parlays than it is to play teasers. And if you were, whether you're doing teasers or parlay, if you're going to entertain the thought of either, I would keep it to the same game side and total, because it can correlate. If you're taking the points in a game with a low total, you're taking you're teasing up the dog to get a bunch of points, and then you tease it with the under. The low scoring game sort of correlates with the big dog. These kind of and I still don't do that, but if I was going to bet teasers or parlays, right, I would want the two events to correlate with each other.
I'll tell you another theory that I had, and I ran it for a good 4 years, and it made money. And then they really cracked down, especially the offshore sports books at the time, or you had to have 2 local bookies. These same game parlays in college football. And my theory was quite simple. If a point spread was 33% or more of the total, you bet one parlay with one bookie with the favorite in the over, and you bet another parlay with another bookie with the underdog in the under. And you would be surprised. All you need to do is hit one of those 2. And you'd be surprised that it does come out to a profitable thing, especially in college football. I mean, the NFL, I never entertain that, because how many times do we see an NFL point spread be 33% or more of what the total is? It happens on occasion, but very rarely.
Yeah.
And again, it's not something I would even recommend, because I haven't entertained or did the study on that in years. And as we know, the game has changed, and when rules change in games, the complexion of how games are played are changed. You really don't want to go dormant on a theory or a strategy for 4 or 5 years without at least dabbling back into it and seeing if that still holds to be true. So again,
I will say, though, if you want to compare teasers, let's say you got like an Iowa State game. The total's 35. Iowa State's getting 6. So you're going to tease them to double digits, and you're going to tease up the total from 36 to 42. I see a lot more value in something like that than teasing the Kansas City Chiefs from 7 to 1 and from 50 to 43.5 or 44 or something like that.
Well, I mean, and if you're going to play teasers, to your thought process, Jesse, is if you're going to use sides in the teasers, try to cross 2 key numbers. So, for example, if how could I put this? I mean, if you have a 6.5
plus 2.5,
yeah, right, exactly, where you're crossing 2 numbers. You're by getting the extra 6 points, you're crossing the 3. Actually, you're crossing 3 key numbers, 6 and 7. So that would be something that if you're going to play teasers to entertain. But again, let's be clear. None of us are advocating for playing teasers or parlays, okay? This is just general thoughts and conversations. So, all right, L says, man, almost missed you. Leaning Army -9.5. Clemson, North Carolina State under 44.5. Al, we just discussed Army and UMass. There's a lot better games on the board. And again, we all, I think Jesse agreed with us on this, that You're talking about a team that's been shut out in back-to-back games. They're playing a UMass team that's not as bad as they've been in recent past. They've been a lot more competitive, and Army is lacking an identity right now. That's not to suggest that we're taking UMass. It's to suggest to find a better game. Clemson, North Carolina State under 44.5. Sean, you're the big totals guy here.
I'd lean under with that one. NC State's and Clemson.
Yeah.
We've seen them being there, but back to the UMass. As Russ is a little more competitive, they still have a terrible defense. It gives up like 45 points a game, but they're not a team they used to. I mean, 2 years ago they're losing every game 60-2 or whatever. So they're improved, but we're not saying they're better. They're still one of the worst teams in college football. But 9.5 with Army, no thank you. Lean to the under there, Al.
All right. If you can't resist a teaser or parlay, I definitely try and do it for NFL and not college football. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I'd rather try it in college because if I'm going to take some kind of crazy teaser, I'm going to take a Florida State from 24 to a 14 or like a big school or something. Go for bring it down to like the pick'em kind of area. Speaking of which, here's a prime example: Nebraska. 3, now they're down to a 2 and even a 1.5 at some spots. Like, what is that about? Like, I would tease Purdue up, try to get more points out of Purdue. That line's coming down. Nobody's betting Purdue. Throw Purdue in a teaser, somebody. Let me know how that works out because I want to take Purdue now. Watching that line come down for some reason. Why is that line coming down? Anybody have a question for me on that?
Yeah. No,
I can tell you, Sean, that I don't want to have anything to do with Nebraska or Purdue.
Right. I mean, and it's coming down.
Yeah, that's one of those. When you get one of those head scratch, I mean, usually I could spot a line early in the week, or a few actually in college football, where I'll say this line doesn't make sense. They're begging you to take the other side. I haven't been able to see that this week. I really haven't. I mean, the closest I think it comes is with USC only laying 10.5 on the road at Kent's Cal.
Yeah.
But if you look, Cal's moved the ball this year. And again, USC, as we've seen and mentioned all year, as good an offense as they had, they have a lot of liabilities on defense. So, again, but you make a good point, Sean. If that's the way you're looking at the game, why is that line coming down? Then there must be a reason why the underdog is coming down. There's got to be a reason why. There's something that we're missing or something we don't know, or there's some kind of sharp action going that way.
It was 3 the other day. Now I'm seeing it go to 1.5 as we speak.
You can't tease college. All right, Dan, you've been a great follower and enough with the teasers, my man. You're more intelligent than this.
Well, none of us are in the business of teasing college football, anyways.
So I'll tease Maryland with a 10-point tease them down to 4 on the road, Maryland.
But it's going to take a special case to get me to play a teaser, and a special case would be, like I said, an Iowa State-Iowa game. You guys know as well as I do. Iowa State-Iowa games always decided by one score, always going under the total. If you're teasing the dog and going under, I've never done it. I don't plan on doing it, but it seems sharper to me doing it that way than a total in the 50s and teasing a 7-point favorite down to a pick'em.
Yeah, and again, if you're doing sides like me and Jesse were just discussing, using the example of a 2.5-point dog, teasing it up to 8.5. Now you've crossed 3 key numbers of 3, 6, and 7. So again, those are the types of things, if you're indeed going to dabble with them, that you really should take into consideration. All right, I'm going to look at my game here, which is the Saints and Colts, 2 teams that are 3-4, 1:00 kickoff on Sunday. Game will be played in Indy. The Saints right now, 1-point favorite to total 43.5. Indy's coming off, Indy just has been beating himself of late. Last week, I was fortunate enough to cover with them at +3, but it should have been a heck of a lot easier than it was. They lose the game 39-38. They outgained Cleveland 456 to 316 in that game. So they outgained them by 140 yards, but 4 turnovers killed them. And that game should not have even been close. They should have won outright, and they should have won by double digits. And then you look at the game before, 37-20 loss at Jacksonville. Seems like a blowout, right? Not really, because when you look at inside the numbers, Jacksonville scored 33 points despite only having 233 yards of total offense and being outgained by 121 yards. That Indy outgained them by. So again, Indy in that game, 4 turnovers. And then the loss before that, which is their last 3 losses they've suffered, all games they could have won. They either gave them away, or in this case, they lost to the Rams 29-23 in overtime in the game. They stormed back from a big second half deficit, tied the game only to lose in overtime when the Rams scored, I believe, on their first possession of overtime. They scored a touchdown. So, again, New Orleans, they started 2-0. They're 1-4 since. 3 of the 4 losses versus teams that are 500 or worse right now. They're 0-3 straight up in ATS this year as a favorite. They did show some life offensively in their loss at home to Jacksonville on a Thursday night contest. But again, when you look at everything in a nutshell, New Orleans offense, 19 points per game, 326 yards a game. In the Colts offense, if they stop turning the ball over, this is a team that's moving the ball. And Jonathan Taylor started to show signs of life last week. Gardner Minshew is not a bad backup quarterback. He can move the ball if he doesn't throw picks. And the Colts, their last 3 games, 27 points per game and over 400 yards of total offense per contest. And another compelling statistic is over the last 3 games, they're averaging 6.4 yards per offensive play. So this is a team that is not only moving the ball, they're showing some explosiveness on offense, and they're just killing themselves with turnovers. In the Colts defense, the last 3, really, if you look at what they're giving up over 30 points per game, guys, in the last 3, yet they're only allowing 299 yards per game. Defensive touchdowns against them, turnovers with short fields from their offense. I just think, look, they can't continue to be this unlucky, and this is a very, very winnable game at home against a New Orleans team that's has been less than inspiring over the last 5 weeks. They played one good game. They beat New England 34-0 on the road. That's it. They've lost 4 of the last 5. I'm going to take Indy here plus the 1 against New Orleans. Sean?
Yeah, this is a tough one, man. You ran out a bunch of good stuff there. Minshew, 8 turnovers the last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
And then the Saints, I mean, they've dropped, 4 or 5? The Colts have dropped 3 or 4. Saints have some extra rest, which will help out. They can play defense. I want to take the Colts here at home. I do. Like, you just can't keep turning the ball over like that, right? That's just kind of like the law of averages where you have something right kind of goes in your favor as everything bad's happen. I want to say Colts in the end. I know they're an over team with the Colts defense, but the Saints offense is bad. It's bad. Carr's not the answer. I think the coaches.
Well, the Colts defense isn't bad, Sean. I mean, like I just
exactly. You said you get short fields and turnovers and pick.
I mean, they're allowing less than 300 yards a game their last 3. But they're allowing 30 points. Where's that? How's that equate?
Exactly.
So
I'll lean under. I'll go Colts and under here. I don't have anything in this game, but that's where I'm looking. It's just I stopped pulling the trigger on when the quarterback's just been that bad the last couple of weeks. Saints money line, pretty heavy. Sorry to hear that, Dan. Sorry,
it's okay.
Light. You'll be pretty light in the pocket, though. You won't have heavy pockets.
And again, I want to bring this to everybody's attention because some of you have made a point to let us all know that why should we pay you? You guys been losing on your free picks the last 2 weeks. Well, the latter statement is true. We haven't done well with our free picks for the last 2 weeks. Okay. But I think that if you go back and look at the archives prior to that, there was a 3-month period where if we're not 60%, we were approaching 60% over that course of time. Secondly, you people got to stop with this baloney of why should I pay you guys when you lost this free pick, whatever specific game they're attributing to them not paying. Well, look, when you start having an attitude like this, these are assigned games. I assign games early in the week, including myself, without much thought, other than the fact that I try to get the most competitive games on the card that are going to bring the most attention, and we do the best we can with them. Do we use some of these games on our premium side? At times, yes. Okay. But most of the time, no. All right. So, but you people who tell me or tell us or comment to the masses, then why would you pay these guys anything? They had X team last week and they got crushed by Y team. Well, you same people who make those types of comments are never going to buy. So stop the baloney. Because if we're winning for 10 straight weeks, like we were with the free picks, your excuse is going to be, why should I pay? They're winning their free picks. So stop, okay? Stop. I don't go into your business. And if you're running a restaurant, I don't go in your business and tell everybody.
I feel bad for Dan. Like you're attacking Dan. He's even asked. He's having the guy who put that up there. That Dan's.
What's
Dan's
that?
Call Ross's Ranch. Change his name real fast, Dan. Go and change
no, I know. Dan does not do that. Okay. Dan disagrees sometimes, and in this particular instance, but he does it gracefully and respectfully. And I appreciate that.
We didn't say hi to Paul Frostbite before. Hey, Frostbite. Paul, aka Frostbite.
Yeah.
Frostbite. That was one of the GI Joe guys. I think he was in the Snowcat. He drove the GI Joe Snowcat. Frostbite, I believe.
As you can tell, Sean, when he's not handicapping football or basketball or baseball, he's in a fantasy land. So he's a guy who takes cartoons very seriously. He takes
I like the old GI Joes. I don't care.
Captain Americas and
that crap. GI Joe, Transformers. Yes.
Scooby-Doo.
He was the type of guy who got together with his buddies and would bet on Rock'em Sock'em Robot, when he was a kid. So.
Speaking of Rock'em Sock'em, Ross, Don Cherry got fired for saying "you people." I think I heard you say it 3 times during your rant.
Yeah, but when he says it, he's specifying a race, color, creed, or religion. I'm not doing that. I'm saying to our audience, you people, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And specifically the people who chime in with complaints. Look, we're going to miss by a mile once in a while. The best of us do. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So what? Again, folks, business 101. We got 5 premium picks out for Saturday in college football. We're giving you a free pick. Most likely that free pick is number 6 or 7 or 8 on our pecking order. Okay? That's just the true nature of it. So trying to make us feel guilty if we lose a free pick and using that for justification on whether you buy or not is bullshit.
I'm not feeling guilty if I lose. It's part of gambling. I know I'm going to lose. If you don't think you're going to lose, don't watch.
Let me tell you.
Do I look like I feel guilty over here?
Jesse might be having a bad few days, but if you look at his overall record over the years and you look at what Sean's doing right now and you're looking at the kind of season that I've had, and specifically so over the last 3 months, you don't want to buy? Who cares? You're costing yourself money, you morons. All right? So there you go. All right, let me look at some more here.
Yes,
tease the Ravens -2.5. Well, again, if you're teasing the Ravens -2.5, at least you're crossing one key number of plus.
No, he's teasing it down because they're 8s, so he wants to tease them down there.
Oh, tease them down.
8.5 fave and a touchdown fave.
That's okay too, because you're crossing 3 key numbers, and Chiefs -1. Again, you're crossing at least 2 numbers there. So, any thoughts? Again, we specified how we feel about teasers. Jesse brought up, and me and Jesse discussed crossing key numbers. So in this particular instance, you have. But again, I wouldn't make a habit of doing this, guys.
I'd rather tease Denver up. I think Denver is
and low totals too. With the points. The points that you're getting in a game with a low total are more valuable than the points you're getting in a total of 55, in my opinion. Anyways.
Wait a minute. You guys aren't always right. Appreciate your help always. All right. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate that comment. Ross, settle down. What are you, my wife, Dale? Are you my wife? I don't know what to tell you, buddy. Thoughts on Oregon State -3 against Arizona? I think Oregon State might be a sucker play this week. Again, I know they have the better resume right now. They have the better record, but I think Arizona is a team that's surging right now. And this game was 4.5, come down to 3. Jesse, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I've got some thoughts because Dan's mentioned it. You've mentioned it. I've heard a lot of people say it. This week's card just isn't as attractive as the last few weeks have been. But I've got some thoughts regarding this entire week's card because there's a lot of big favorites and games like this where, it's just not that sexy. But I have this sneaking feeling that there's going to be a bunch of games this week. Teams that are 10 double-digit faves, 17-point faves, looks unattractive. But there's a lot of look-ahead spots. There's a lot of big rivalry games coming up. You got Bedlam. You got K-State and Texas coming up. And a lot of these teams are in these spots where they're playing a fairly, flat kind of game, a meaningless game ahead of their big rivalry game coming up. They're laying, and I think the professional handicapping business has sort of gone away from situational handicapping. I know I haven't. I know Ross hasn't, and I know Sean hasn't. But a lot of the guys on a lot of the channels are yards per play, adjusted PPF, this and that. And you run the numbers through the machine, and it comes out this team's going to win by 20. So and you don't even factor in the fact that Bedlam's coming up next week. And I haven't heard enough talk about some look-ahead spots for some of these teams. And this game is not the best example, but it could be used as an example. Oregon State is a contender for the Pac-12 championship. Arizona is not. It's a tough road game. Looks really easy, -3, right? There's no easy games in the Pac-12. You should have seen that by now. I guess my rant is over.
There you go. Clint says, I just got here. I missed the rant. Well, watching on archive and watching in slow motion, it's even better. I'll go back and watch it. Otherwise, Stephen Wilson, who's a client of mine over at gamblersworld.net. How are you doing, Stephen? I appreciate your business.
We like the Colts.
Appreciate you watching the show. Yes, I did give out the Colts as a free pick, Stephen. Okay, free pick. Not sure what I'm doing yet on the Sunday card. I'll know more about that and get it up by tomorrow morning. Jesse is correct. Very accurate view on Saturday. Okay. Now that you got that I feel a hell of a lot better now that Dan has told you you're correct. All right. So, hi there, sir. Hi, Stephen. How are you, my man? I hope all is well.
Jess is right about the whole, because I hear people say all the time, I don't worry about there's no look ahead spots or flat spots. I disagree. I think about that all the time. All right.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, how did Washington almost lose to Arizona State then? But what is the yards per play adjusted PPF stat that's going to tell you that Washington's going to almost lose to Arizona State? You know what's going to tell you that? They just beat Oregon. That's why they had that close game against Arizona State. Nothing to do with advanced analytics. That was a situational.
Yeah. And you know what? How's the advanced analytics in all the statistical breakdowns do for you on the North Carolina-Virginia game last week? A 24-point favorite, undefeated, nationally ranked, losing at home to a team that was 0-5 against FBS opponents. So
let's throw that into the USC Cal game. USC should win or 10-point favorite. Well, they just dropped 2 in a row, and they're out of the Pac-12. They're out of the playoffs.
Dream crusher.
He's probably out of the Heisman too, to boot. So how are they going to go in here and just run it up? I don't know if they have any heart. Where was their heart? They didn't show any heart against Utah when they're in a battle. Why are they going to have heart here against Cal, who's always feisty at home?
Do you guys like the first 5 under 4.5 game one World Series, which goes tonight? The total in that game right now is 8.5, if I'm not mistaken, and there was some 8s out there the last I looked. So I have a pick on that game at gamblersworld.net right now. It's on the side. So I really want to reserve comment here, but again, Gallen's their ace, and Eovaldi's been terrific. Not only this piece postseason, but past postseasons. Any thoughts in terms of Bill's question here, guys?
I can answer that, certainly. So Gallen has not been good in the playoffs so far. He hasn't been good on the road all year. But I like this spot for Gallen with the bit of a layoff. You see the game 1 of the series after a bit of a layoff. Sometimes those hot bats sort of cool off. And Gallen's just too good of a pitcher to write him off and say, oh, well, he's had a couple bad outings in a row, he's going to get rocked. I'm not a guy that's going to write off a pitcher like that easily. And Eovaldi's been good. And like I said, with the, Texas scored a ton of runs against Houston. Arizona scored a ton of runs against Philly. The bats came out of their last series hot. It's been a couple days to cool off. I could see game one being a pitcher's duel, and I like the under 4.5 first 5.
Agree.
Sean, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. No, exactly what I just said.
All right, I'd say Kentucky plus 3.5 looks easier than Oregon State -3. I guess, Dan, if that's your opinion,
I don't
argue either way.
Not disagree with I'd rather go with a home dog than with an away favorite, especially Oregon State. Like Oregon State had been great ATS because they were always in that kind of dog role where now they're hunting. They're not they're the hunted, not the hunter now.
Yeah,
and Kentucky. We've talked about Milton. We know we're not big Milton guys here in the chat, but no. I see that 3.5. I think they're trying to trick you with that 3.5. I don't know.
And then you're also looking at two teams with identical records, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and yet the road favorite is laying the extra hook on 3. So to me.
I don't like Tennessee, but I can't bet them. I mean it. I just can't pull the trigger on them.
I just think they're begging you to take Kentucky there.
Yep.
Oregon State. The only thing I would say about that game, I said I had a lean and I thought it was a sucker play, but the more I look at that game as the week progressed, there seems to be a lot of people who agreed with my initial opinion on that with Arizona. And there's surprisingly a lot more money on Arizona than Oregon State. So that would be my only. I did use Arizona in my Wise Guy and Mark Lawrence's Wise Guy contest as my top play, which, by the way, I'm number 2 out of 47 guys right now. So
that's come down too. That was a 5, then it was a 4, 4.5, 3.5. Now
I got it at 4.5 in the contest, which helped. So, all right, guys, it's time to wrap it up. Again, folks, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please take a second to do so. It costs you absolutely nothing. There's no strings attached. There's no hidden agenda. You could comment anything you want. I'm not saying that we're always going to agree with you. And when I have a rant once in a while, don't take it personally. It's because I'm very passionate about what I do for a living.
Unless it's you he's talking about.
Yeah,
I know the feeling, guys, in the chat when Ross comes after you.
Anyway, you'll see a WC logo right there in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're watching on your PC, you'll see a black subscribe button on your smart TV or your mobile device. Just click on that. It'll get you subscribed. Like I said, you'll be privy to the best sports betting podcast on the internet today. I say that with unequivocal and the utmost confidence, okay? And then also, folks, there's a like button that Jesse's going to tell you what to do before. He's going to do it early today because we're going to tell you what we have going on this weekend. But, Jesse, tell them what they should do with the like button.
Smash that like button.
Anyway, smash that like button. And Jesse told you that emphatically, so much so that his hat moved to a different spot on his head. In any event, just a small token of your appreciation for the time, work, and effort we put into giving you a quality podcast here on this channel and make you smarter sports better today than you were yesterday. That's never going to change, folks. That's our motto. That's our goal. Yes, these free picks are nice. The winners and the free picks are nice, but the analysis that we give you and some of the discussions, like, for example, what we went through today on sports betting topics are crucial to you being a smarter sports bettor today than yesterday. And that's where we differentiate ourselves from a 3 or 4 minute video that just gives you a free pick. So again, folks, we appreciate all of you who have subscribed. Jesse, tell the folks, it's been a couple rough days. You won yesterday though, didn't you? You won yesterday.
I split yesterday. I had an NBA total that missed the mark and a hockey total that hit. So Yeah, I mean, the bull run's coming, Ross. There's no doubt about that. I don't know if it's going to be today, tomorrow, or the next day or next week, but we're going to have another bull run. And still, it's been a really bad last 5, 6 days. No doubt about that. I can't apologize because I didn't do anything wrong. It is part of the business, and I don't apologize for losses because that doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, despite the losses, I mean, my position on the leaderboards is still pretty strong. I'm doing pretty well with several sports. Even my college football record I'm still hitting over 60% for the season with college football. So it's not like it's not like I'm devastated over here. I'm still pretty confident moving forward. And as I always like to point out, I dabble in a lot of different sports. We got CFL, we got Champions League soccer, we got Premier League soccer. We got college basketball starting up. We got, I'm going to dabble with the NBA. And if you're interested in NBA and you're looking for a guy that's got picks on NBA every day, I'm not your guy. I'm going to have 3-4 picks a week throughout the regular season only. But college football, maybe a small card tomorrow, but a big card next week, the following week, and moving forward. And I still absolutely believe that at the end of the season, I'm going to be near the top of the leaderboards with college football.
I believe that as well, Jesse, and I know we're personal friends as well, like I am with Sean and everybody on the show. But by the same token, I'm big fans of each one of you guys as well, and nobody wants to see us succeed more than I do. And you've shown and you've proven over the years that your estimation of being amongst the leaders at the end of the year is a strong one because you have valid proof as to why you feel that way. Sean, let me get to this real quick. If you don't know how to take losses, you shouldn't be betting. Yeah, yes. Exactly our points. Exactly. Thanks, Dab Rab. Love that. You're honest and transparent. Love the show. Thanks, Al. And I was only kidding before, by the way, Al. No loud face. No. Well, anyway. Thanks as always, fellas.
Is it Nola face or no LA face?
Right. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. Sean, what do you got going on, my man?
Well, college and NFL treating me pretty good last month plus here, so doing well. What do we had? The numbers are there: 62 college, 64% NFL, NBA 2-0 out of the gate. Watch out! Hello, NBA fans. I got 2-0 in my pocket. And anyway, listen, I'll have some NBA. I'm like Jesse. I'll try to find some spots. If I like something, I'll pull the trigger on. But it's really NFL, college football, World Series action. I do have I'll have thoughts on this series, I guess, as a pretty good. Today's it's a tough one today. It's I couldn't come in with a there we go +$1 with a little outfit. After I sweep the board this weekend, maybe he'll come in on Tuesday. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, what's it? I mean, it is what it is. People check out the leaderboards. That's how I think, and that's for whatever I say. It's streaky. It is what it is. It's
well, you know what? At the end of the day, Sean is starting to really come on in the NFL and every other sport too. But his NFL, yeah, again, folks, I'm going to say it again: 64% with 207 picks last year, and he's starting to come on now. So if he's starting to heat up now, I would jump in when the going's good because this could go on for quite a while now. Okay, especially since he got off to a slow start where he was just treading water in the NFL. And if you like action in college basketball, Sean's your guy. He loves his college basketball. He's a big volume player in college basketball. You can sometimes get as many as 20 picks on a Saturday on a college basketball card from Sean. So just
bet accordingly. And I said, and again, I'm a guy. I don't have 1,000-3,000 a game going on those games. No,
exactly
like
right.
The $150-$2 range here. It's a lot of games.
Money management is a discussion for another day, folks. But again, you need to exercise very strict money management, not only with Sean, with all of us. Okay. When you're dealing with a volume player like Sean, though, and this is no disrespect towards Sean, because Sean will tell you the same thing. You lower your amount to play per game. Okay. Because at the end of the day, what's the difference if you're playing 50 or 100? If you go 55% over 400 picks in college basketball, if $50 a game, do the math. And again, I'm not suggesting you only bet $50 a game, but my point being is you might bet a little less with Sean than you do with me and Jesse, only because of volume. That's it. It has nothing to do with quality. Dominic chimes in here. Love the show always. Thank you, Dominic. We appreciate it very much, and we appreciate you, sir. All right. So again, folks, don't forget, over at gamblersworld.net, we got a Halloween special going. It's a spooktacular savings on a 3-day package. You get $13.13 off any one of our 3-day packages. And best of all, folks, when you do purchase that and you use that special, if you don't make a profit over the 3 days, and again, it should be a moot point, but you never know, we will credit your account back the exact amount of your purchase price or how much money you spent on that particular package. So again, you could find me at gamblersworld.net. Cooled off a little bit in college football after a torrid start, but still 27-16 since September 15th, and going back to December 2nd of last year, 50-29 in college football, which is good for 63%. NFL started week 1, 2-5, stunk, but since that time, 20-11, good for 65%. NFL and college football combined since September 14th, 48-27. It's good for 64%. How about this, folks? An all sports run of 71-40, 71-41, 64% since September the 12th. And going back to August 4th, 119-77, which is good for 61%. Major League Baseball, the World Series is starting. I don't know what you're waiting for with all three of us, but I can tell you I've won 8 of my last 10 in the Major League Baseball postseason right now. And also going back to August 4th, 57-33 with my Major League Baseball picks. Good for 63%, folks. I don't give out any big favorites. So your return on investment when I'm hitting 63% is going to be enormous compared to a lot of other guys. All right, so there you have it. All three of us, check us out at gamblersworld.net. Jesse and Sean, I hope you guys have a great weekend. As always, great job, guys. It's a privilege and honor to work with both of you gentlemen on this show, and really enjoy it. And I look forward to what the future brings on this show, working with you two guys going forward as well. So for Sean Higgs and Jesse Schule and Ross Benjamin, take care and God bless, folks.